Hi, it's Tammy Salamone, the Pink Survivor. So today I'm going to make a video that's called Things I Googled When I Got Breast Cancer. So these are like my top 10 things that I started to search and look up as soon as I got diagnosed with breast cancer. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. Okay, so the first thing that I started to look up and search was, when will I lose my hair once I start chemotherapy? So that really depends on what kind of chemotherapy drug you have. So for me, I was on 12 weeks of Taxol, and it was right at the midway point, so 6 weeks into my 12 weeks, that the hair started to come out in those clumps. Now, other of my friends who had stronger chemo drugs, they lost their hair 2 or 3 weeks into their treatments or after their second or third. So that kind of depends. Your doctor will know. I mean, my doctor pretty much knew exactly when I was going to lose my hair, and I've heard others say the same thing. So talk to your doctor, and they're going to probably know pretty well exactly when your hair will start to fall out. Okay. Number 2, the next thing that I started to search all the time, how long will it take for my hair to grow back? Now you have to remember, we're used to our hair growing constantly, but it's already growing from length. So you're starting from 0, like a baby. So it only is going to grow about an average of 1/2 inch per month. So think about that. So those first few months, it seems like it's just growing. It's growing, but at a slow pace because you're starting from 0. But then it took about, I'd say, 16 months, and I'll give you some photos too, where I started to kind of get some longer hair where I could at least have some cute short hairstyles. But for me, what I meant is like, how long is it going to take for me to get like my long hair back? It was probably even longer than this. And that took a little over 2 years, about 2 years and 4 months, I'd say. I really felt like, okay, my hair is back, it's feeling better, it's looking better, and it was long again. Okay, number 3, can I continue to work out during chemo? And the answer is yes, especially if you've already established a routine, if you have some kind of base where you've been working out regularly for maybe at least 6 months to a year or longer. And if you've been working out, I'd say 3 times a week, let's say, for, a half hour to an hour a day, then there's no reason why you can't continue that. But it's really based on how you're feeling. But I was able to continue with my workouts throughout chemo, even when I was starting to slow down, and I did have that year of Herceptin, and I was getting quite tired on it, mentally and physically tired. Then I just kind of adjusted where I was doing maybe a little less intense workouts, but I was still working out. So there's no reason why you can't continue. And then the next thing that I continued to search was, can I continue to run during chemo? So at the time I was really running a lot more than I am currently now, but then it really mattered to me, like how hard could I push myself? But since I already had an established, baseline of so many miles that I was running per week, I could continue, and I did. I definitely slowed down. I wasn't running as fast or as long as I did, but my oncologist said, keep doing whatever you're doing. So if you're feeling really good and you already have a really strong, base there of some workout or running miles, go ahead and continue if you're feeling good. And when you start to feel a little tired, just push back a little bit, and then slowly you'll build back up. Okay, the next thing that I continued to search, number 5, was, can I continue to work at my job during chemo? And that really depends on you, of course, and it depends on what course of treatment plan that you and your doctor have planned out. For me, I would say being on Taxol for 12 weeks and Herceptin for a year, yes, I could definitely have continued to work. If I was working full-time, I would have had a little bit of an issue. One, because during chemo days, you're in the chemo center for quite a long time. It could be 3, 4, 5 hours, depending on how much chemo you're getting. And then for me, every 3 weeks for my Herceptin, I'm still going back. That's taking, 2 to 3 hours total. So you've got your drive time as well. And then also during chemo, after midway point, the day after, I was starting to get a little nauseous, where I think I would have had trouble really working and focusing and concentrating at work. So I would have had to have taken off the day after for sure, just to kind of recover. Now, others, when they're on a schedule of chemo every 3 weeks, I know that sometimes it would take 2 or 3 days for their side effects to kick in. So it would be that 3rd or 4th day afterwards where they really did not feel well. So that would also affect how much you could work. So it is dependent on, you, how much you're handling the chemo drugs and what kind of drugs you're getting. But I would say, if you have to work, and many of us do, go ahead and give it a try, and maybe you'll just have to call in sick and take some time off that way. Okay, so the next thing that I was always searching for and looking for answers was, what are the different kinds of breast cancer? And I mean, there are a lot of factors that play into this, of what kinds of breast cancer are there. And that's why I would always advise, you really shouldn't be giving advice to someone who's maybe just been diagnosed with breast cancer, or probably any kind of cancer, because there's so many different types. Just for instance, with breast cancer, there are ductal breast cancers and lobular kinds of cancers. There's invasive and non-invasive. There's hormone positive and non-hormone positive. There's HER2 positive, and what plays into part of the type of breast cancer is what stage are you? There's 0 to 4. Stage 0 to stage 4 are huge differences in your treatment plan. Also, there are, what size tumors did you have? How many tumors did you have? Where were they located? What grade are they? There are so many factors that go into exactly what type of breast cancer you have, that really, unless you have a very similar type, case, size, what age were you? That is a family history. There's so much that plays. Are genetics involved? Did you have certain genes that are, that you tested positive for? So it's very difficult to find 2 cases that are identical. So I would say just be careful, but there's many, many types. And then the next thing that I was also trying to discover and research was, what are my survival rates or my recurrence rates after all of my treatment and surgeries? But that really depends a lot on the answer of the question that I just answered before about the type. Your size of tumor, your age, your family history, there's so much that went into that. And that's definitely going to affect your recurrence rates and your survival rates. So sometimes they'll be less than others. Maybe they'll say you'll expect a recurrence within 10, 20 years, 5 years, it just depends. Sometimes within a year, depending on how aggressive the cancer is. So, and this can be quite devastating for someone to hear, but it really will depend on your individual case. So the next thing that I was researching quite often was, how can I prevent a recurrence? What can I do? So the really, the best thing that you can do is to try and live a healthy lifestyle. And of course, no one's going to be perfect, but we want to try and have some kind of consistent workout schedule. I really feel like that's so important, and there is research to back that up. You want to eat healthy, make some good choices as far as you probably don't want to have a lot of, processed foods. We probably want to try and limit those a bit. There's also research that says you don't want to have too much red meat. That might be helpful. You want to maintain a healthy body weight, or at least a range, I'm not saying you don't have to be super skinny, but you just want to be in some kind of a healthy range. If you're smoking, you probably want to stop smoking. Alcohol, you probably don't want to overdo. You understand. There's a lot of just basic things, just like everybody else. There's no difference from you to the person who doesn't have cancer. We just want to try overall to live a healthy lifestyle, eat well, and exercise regularly. Oh, and I think one of the most important things you can do to avoid a reoccurrence is to stay positive. Your mental attitude and the way you are looking at your life and things has more effect than you realize. So I would say, as much as you can, try and stay positive. If your doctor has recommended that you take additional medication, that's also something that you can do to help avoid a recurrence. Also want to get your checks regularly. So you have to go in, if it's every 3 months or 6 months, until you get on the 1-year schedule. You want to continue to get any scans that your doctor recommends and make sure that you go to your oncologist appointment. The next thing that I was Googling all the time was, will I ever do a push-up again? And that was really important to me because I had worked so hard from years and years ago to not even being able to do 1 push-up to being able to do 50 push-ups. So for me, I was like, can I ever do that again? Because I had heard so many women say, oh, you'll never do a push-up again. But actually, you can. And that's with my double mastectomy, and I had my implant, surgery, and then I slowly kind of worked my way up. Probably my push-ups, maybe they're not as, good as they used to be, but you definitely can do a push-up again. I can still do, 10 or 20. I just haven't even tried to work myself up to doing 50 again, but I bet if I put the work in, I could do it. And then the last thing that I was searching all the time was, will my body ever feel normal again? And my answer is yes. I mean, of course, you'll probably have a new definition of normal, but there were times where it just felt so foreign and something just wasn't right. I wasn't feeling comfortable after my surgery, and especially, with the implants, that took some time to get used to. But now, years later, I don't even think about it anymore. And I think sometimes I just forget, but maybe I'll see my scars and then, I remember. So yes, you will feel healthy again, you won't be as tired, and your body will feel much more like it belongs to you again. So I hope that was helpful. Thanks so much for joining me. If there's any other questions that maybe I can answer, please let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.